And I think it's hard for people to distinguish forgiveness and forgetting and forgiveness and what the relationship looks like after, whether it's a husband or a friend or a colleague. How do we move forward, right? Like in a relationship, you can probably share with people like the first question is how do you ever trust them?
Right. And there's a process to that. There's a process to trust, which I found really wonderful in my dealings with the therapist who dealt with us regarding the addiction. They said, Rebecca, first of all, you don't have to trust what they say. They've already lied to you. So what you have to do is prove things empirically for yourself, right? So in that, there was a time that I asked my husband to take a lie detector and he took it. There was a time that he had to allow me to have the location on his phone, to be able to see his searches on the internet, accountability. And so people who want to rebuild a relationship will give you accountability because that you are more important to them than their addiction. They will do it. Someone who's not willing, what are they telling you? See? And so in that case, yes, accountability and evidence, physical evidence is important because you can't just use trust. Trust has to
Yeah.
be built like a house. Okay.
But then they also like I see these I see so much online, but like there's people I know even in LA, my friends have to deal with this where it's like they all end up finding they're dating the same guy and he has different apartments in the same building. So at 5 o'clock, he's meeting you on level 4. At 8 o'clock, he's meeting you on level 9. I mean,
Yeah.
guys are really good at what they do. They
Right.
know how to have multiple email accounts, so they're going to let you see the one they want you to see.
Right.
They
Well,
can
and
meet anyone at any time. It could literally look like they're at the coffee bean and they're having sex in the coffee bean. I mean, you don't know.
right. Right. Well, and to that, I say, um, in actuality, accountability is a big part of rebuilding trust. Um, but for me, there's also what we call red flags, right? If a guy, if a guy you're dating can never be reached at certain times, that's a little bit of a flag.
Mhm.
My mom always said, if you ain't met his mama and his friends, you aren't his girlfriend. Okay. If you don't hear from him till 11 p.m., you're not his girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? So there are some of those things that right off the bat we should be suspicious of. But in terms of how well they lie and all that, that's true. That's true. But I would say that there are some general principles that in some way our culture has tossed to the side with hookup culture, right? That if you listen to your mama and your grandmama, you would have avoided. You see, you hear me? There are some people who just say trouble from the day you met them, but you don't want to believe it because there's something about them you want, whether it's their money or their lifestyle or their fame or they're just good looking. And you're overlooking all these other important things, all the character traits. How much is he pursuing you or are you pursuing him? That's the other thing. A guy dealing with that many women, he can't pursue you. A guy who wants you will pursue you. He will sacrifice to be with you. My pastor used to say, ask a man what night he hangs with his boys and then tell him, oh, that's the night I'm free. Because if he won't sacrifice to be with you, if he won't leave the 99 and go after the one, you're not, he don't love you. He don't want you that much. You're not that important. And so even something, we used to have this book called The Rules, right? Where these two women wrote a book about how to find and date the right kind of people through using exclusivity. Like one thing the ladies used to teach is never, ever, ever accept a last minute date.
Mm.
A guy calls you and wants you to go out with him tonight, tell him no. I don't care if you're not doing nothing but washing your hair. Do not be that available, right? You have to make a man prove to you that you are of value to him. And so you say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not free tonight, but I'm free Friday. I'm free next week. And if they wait for you and go out with you, you have value to them. But if you don't hear from them again, guess what? There's a place they're putting you in. right? And so he said, he used to say, never be afraid to test a man's love for you, because you want to know the truth. You want to know, is it you he wants, or is it something else? You know? And so I think that there are many, many things that we have overlooked in our culture. I say it to my daughters all the time. We're too easy. We're way too easy. We're way too willing to trust people we've just met. We don't even know don't even know their name, and you're in their house, let alone in their bed. Come on, guys. We got to be smarter than that. We just really do. And we say, oh, that's old fashioned. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, okay. Well, old fashioned your butt back to some healing after you go through all that.
It's scarier than
It's scary.
ever.
Look, there's no way in Jack and the Beanstalk, baby, that I would be doing what these young folks are doing.
Yeah.
And you bought into something that's hurting you. And you need to put your crown back on and get up and have some value in yourself. Plain and simple.
You bring up your
too.
kids, and it makes me wonder, like, how do you handle those conversations with your kids? Like, you went public with all of this, and this is a very intimate thing to go public with.
I
How did
agree.
you guys, and it's helped so many people, which is why it's amazing, but how do you handle those conversations with your kids? And like, because now they're going to know something super intimate.
Yeah. It was not easy. I will say part of the 12 step is that you do come clean to your children. Okay.
Mm.
So there was a meeting with dad and mom and the kids. All of them were different ages. Some were adults, some were teens, and the bottom three were young. She was junior high and then second and first grade. Okay. And so there was a conversation, and there were tears, but later on is when they began to understand more what we went through. I remember my middle daughter, Tara. I knocked on her door one day. She was in high school, and she didn't answer the door. So I peeked my head in. She was sitting on the floor crying. She was reading Terry's book, Manhood. And she's like, Mom, I didn't know he put you through this. And she's bawling. And the book never came off the floor. She couldn't even touch it. And I got down on the floor with her and I hugged her. And I said, it was a long time ago, Tara. She said, I know, but it broke her heart. And I don't know if she talked to her dad that night about it. He certainly would have talked to her if she had approached him, but it affected her. And so my take on this is that children, they have a right to know the truth, certainly. And certainly there's an age at which they can know more or less. But I think what has evolved into a ministry for us can have elements of embarrassment until your children are in their own place in their faith and have gone through some of their own struggles with failure and having to redeem themselves. So because kids can be very self-righteous about their parents, and feel very much like you're supposed to walk on water. You know, you're their version of God in a way.
Yeah.
It's humbling for them to see failure in their parents, but it's also rewarding to see your parents rebuild their marriage and see your parents helping other people. I remember a particular website that I used to follow was called Rejoice Marriage Ministries. And their story was very profound. They were married for 20 years and her husband used to hit her. He was an alcoholic and he was in an affair with another woman who was also married. And she filed for divorce. She said God told her to divorce the man. She divorced him. A year into their divorce, they're now 1 year out. She said the Lord began to speak to her about healing her marriage. And he showed her different verses in the Bible that helped her construct this like a program, if you want to call it that. And so she began to pray for her husband who was seeing this other woman. She was still married and she was pressuring him to marry her, right? somewhere in the midst of the other woman pressuring her ex-husband to marry her, God began to speak to the husband, and he began to repent. As he began to repent, God told him, go back to your wife and ask for her forgiveness. And he did. And then the two of them were sitting there looking at each other, and they both felt God saying, restore your marriage, rebuild your marriage. They went to therapy. They prayed together. They went through these scriptures that the wife had found in the Bible that were about healing and forgiveness. And over the course of the next year, not only had they healed, but they had crafted this model for healing that they call covenant keepers. And I cry thinking about it because there are hundreds of stories of people who rebuilt their marriages after infidelity.
Heal Squad, we have been on quite the journey together, and we're hearing from so many of you just how much this show is helping you heal and get better, and it makes us feel so good. We love, love, love it, and we just ask that you don't keep it to yourself. Spread the message and share the show or your favorite episode with your friends. And if you want to help us even more, you can leave us a 5-star rating and a comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and follow us on Instagram at Heal Squad. You can also DM us anytime because we love connecting with you. And finally, you can also join us on Patreon for our monthly live heal events with world-class healers and ad-free episodes exclusive only to Patreon and our Super Heal Squad for as little as $10 a month. So go to patreon.com/Heal Squad to join. Getting better isn't easy, friends, but as I say all the time, it's a whole lot easier if we can do it together. We love you all so much, and we love doing this thing called life with you.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or MariaMenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.